Hey guys, Bartel's Bookshelf here with another tag video. I wasn't planning on doing another sort of end of year style tag. I already did my December wrap up and my top reads of 2021 video, but I saw Criminali do this tag, the book Postscript tag. So I thought that I would do it myself because I liked the questions and it seemed like a fun way to sort of look back at the year. So here we go. I should also say that this tag was created by Memento Mori, so I will link their channel in the description. So, alright, let's get into it. The first question, or tag, whatever, number thing. The longest book you read this year and the book that took you the longest to finish. I've already talked extensively about both of these books, so I won't dwell on them too much, but the longest book I read this year was this. This is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. This is specifically the Penguin edition, translated by Robin Buss, which I read earlier this year and I loved. It's become one of my favorite books ever, I think, now. At some point, I would very much like to reread this. Maybe in a few years' time, I'll give it another read. But yeah, this is a great book, and it is officially the longest book I read this year at 1,276 pages. So a pretty impressive mammoth there. But I loved it so much I read the whole thing in 2 months, which is quick for me for a book like this. So, yeah, loved that. Highly recommend it. And then the book I took the longest to finish this year, which I've already talked about and I have a standalone review for, is this one, The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I started this in January of 2021, and I finished it in December of 2021. And I don't know why it took me so long, because this was a really great book. I enjoyed it quite a lot, and as I said, I have my standalone review of that. As I've said, I kind of hate that video, but I'll link it anyway. So that's The Vanishing Half. The next prompt is a book you read this year that was outside of your comfort zone. I often try to read stuff that's outside of my comfort zone at least a few times a year. And one thing that I don't read a whole lot of is romance, especially heterosexual romance. I read some gay romance here and there. I've talked about some on my channel, but I'm generally kind of picky about it, so I don't... it's hard for me to like really get into a lot of it, but I do like challenging myself, and this year I challenged myself by reading a Nora Roberts novel, who, you know, of course, she's like one of the most famous authors in the world. She sold millions of books, but I wanted to read one of her books just because it's like, I think it's important to at least try new things, and I'm often sort of dismissive of sort of bestseller literature, you know, like, I don't know, David Baldacci or Lee Child, I don't know, whoever you would see in the bestseller list at the bookstore. But I wanted to try something new, so I read Born in Fire by Nora Roberts, and I was pleasantly surprised because I enjoyed it. As I said, I'm not normally into heterosexual romance, but this was a very entertaining, well-written romance novel about an Irish woman who's a glass-blowing artist, and the relationship that she enters into with this man who is like the owner of this gallery, and he wants to sort of promote her work. And as I said, I was surprised. I pleasantly it wasn't, you know, a literary masterpiece or anything, but it was the writing was poetic without being overbearing or too purple. The relationship felt realistic. I thought the characters were well defined. I was surprised. I actually really enjoyed it, so much so that I might read some other Nora Roberts at some point in the future. So if you've read any of her stuff, if you're a big fan, if you know kind of the sort of stuff that she writes, I mean, let me know. Like, what do you think I would be into, knowing what I read? So yeah, that was definitely outside of my comfort zone, but I'm glad I did. I'm glad I went outside of my comfort zone because I enjoyed it, and that's why I try to do that as often as I can. Number 3 is, how many books did you reread? I don't reread books that often, but I did engage in quite a lot of rereading this year, at least for me. I reread 4 books this year. I reread The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker, which was for Juan at Plagued by Vision's Book of the Month Club. Loved that, really enjoyed it, talked about it in one of my wrap-ups. I also read The Case Against Satan for Juan's book club, which I also talked about. That was another great book, and it was fun to reread. I reread The Invasion, which is the first Animorphs book, because I recently found all the Animorphs books in ebook form, and I wanted to sort of read the whole series from the beginning. I only ended up reading the first book, but it was very pleasantly enjoyable. A lot of good memories. It was a good start to the series. I don't know when I'll get back to it, but it was nice to sort of revisit that. And then the last book that I reread was Interview with the Vampire, which Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice, which of course I've already talked extensively about. But that leads into the next question, which was my favorite reread of this year, and this was far and away my favorite reread. I loved it so much I made a rambly 16-minute video about it. So again, if you haven't seen that, I'll link that. But yeah, this is a great book, a literary classic, changed the landscape of horror literature, of vampire fiction. It's definitely a masterpiece. So yeah, I loved that. A book I read for the first time that I look forward to rereading in the future. So this was a very easy one to pick. Well, I mentioned I mentioned Count of Monte Cristo. I would like to reread that at some point, but seeing as how that's a huge undertaking, I don't know when I'll reread that. But one I really look forward to rereading is this one. I forgot to grab it. Hang on. One that the book that I'm really looking forward to rereading is A Night in a Lonesome October by Roger Zelazny. Again, I've talked about this endlessly on this channel. But I loved this book. This was a wonderfully macabre, darkly funny, fantastical story of Halloween, and I just adored it. I adored every minute with it, and I look forward to making this part of my yearly Halloween tradition, because as I've mentioned, each chapter in the book is a day in October, so I would like to maybe try that in 2022, reread this, but read each chapter for the corresponding day. We'll see, but I loved this book, and I look forward to making it part of my yearly tradition. So that's A Night in the Lonesome October. The next prompt is my favorite single short story or novella that you read this year. Unfortunately, I didn't read a lot of short story or novella collections in 2021, not as much as I would have liked. I really enjoy short stories, but I guess this year I was just mostly focused on novels. But of the short story collections that I read, my favorite story was in this one, Haunted Nights, edited by Ellen Datlow and Lisa Morton. I already mentioned this in my November wrap-up video, and I mentioned this story as well, but the story is A Kingdom of Sugar Skulls and Marigolds by Eric J. Guignard, which was a fantastic story about Day of the Dead, and it was dark and majestic and beautifully written, and very gay. So yeah, that was definitely my favorite short story from this collection. The collection itself was okay, but there were some good stories, but that one was my favorite. So yeah, there you go. Let's see. The next prompt is Mass Appeal, a book that you liked and would recommend to a wide variety of readers. It's tough. I guess the Nora Roberts could fit into this because she definitely has mass appeal, but I guess some people can be picky about romance, so I don't know. Do I read a lot of stuff that has mass appeal? Maybe. It's not something I think about, but I suppose if I had to think of a book I read this year that I thought a lot of people would enjoy and that I really enjoyed, that would be We Contain Multitudes by Sarah Henstra. Again, I talked about this extensively in my wrap-up video, but I thought this was a beautifully emotional queer love story. It was angsty without being melodramatic. It was beautifully written. The romance was so powerful and emotional, and the themes that it talked about, and the how people are deeper than they appear at first glance, and I don't know, the things that we leave behind, the secrets that we keep. I mean, it was just a beautiful book. And it's a YA novel, so it's easy to get into. It's not super sexually explicit or anything like that. I don't know, I really enjoyed it, and I feel like a lot of other people would too, so that's that. The next prompt is Specialized Appeal, a book that you liked but would be hesitant to recommend to just anyone. Well, I mean, that's most of the stuff I read, isn't it? I could put a lot of books here, but the one that I wanted to talk about that I haven't talked about yet on this channel was Valley of the Dolls by Jacqueline Suzanne. This was a very, very popular novel that was published in the late 60s and was made into a famous series of films. I don't even know how I don't know how, of course I knew about this book because it's sort of it was successful in the day, but in the day, but these days it's more of like sort of a camp gay classic. It's very like, I don't know. So I guess I wanted to read it based on its reputation. I don't know why I decided to read it this year, out of all things, but I did, and I was surprised because I really enjoyed it, but not because it was an amazing piece of literature. It was absolute trash, but that was why I liked it. And I can see kind of how it's gained this sort of camp cult appeal. So basically, it's a very detailed story of these four women and the relationships they have in kind of the world of show business and things like that. And so there's lots of like ups and downs. There's drug use. There's homosexuality. There's grooming. There's, I don't know. There's suicide. There's like it's all just a big, crazy, trashy, pulpy mess. But I really loved it for that. But obviously, that's not something that that's going to appeal to everybody. But if you're in kind of the right mindset, and you're in the mood for some kind of like fun, I don't know if fun is the right word because there's a lot of like fucked up shit in the book. But it's very audacious in a way that I really enjoyed. The fact that like somebody wrote this book and just completely like said fuck you to any semblance of like taste or any kind of, you know, literary merit. They just kind of went for it. Like I respect that. And it was a long book. It was like 460 something pages, but I read the whole thing in like a week. So, you know, the worst thing a book can do is be boring, right? So yeah, I would recommend that, but with caveats, because that definitely wouldn't appeal to everybody. Although maybe it would, because it sold millions of copies, so what do I know? Okay, and the next one is reflect on your year as a bookish content creator. Goals met, good bad memories, favorite videos you made, etc. It's tough for me to answer this question because I haven't been doing BookTube seriously for very long, only since about maybe July or August, and even then I've only started trying to be more consistent with uploads very recently. But as I said in my previous video, I've loved it. I found that the community here has been so kind and welcoming. I've made some really good friends through it. It just fills me with joy and glee that there are so many other people out there who love books as much as I do and love talking about books as much as I do. So I don't have much as of yet to reflect on this year. I don't really have like a favorite video or anything like that, but I'm having fun doing this, and other people seem to enjoy what I'm doing too. So I want to keep trying to put stuff out for the bookish community out there. So I hope you guys enjoy that as well. And the last prompt is tag some fellow bookish content creators. Well, I mean, I've talked a ton about several people already in my videos. I've talked about Juan over at Plagued by Visions. I've talked about Michael K. Vaughan on his amazing channel. I've talked about Criminali, who did this tag that prompted me to do it myself. But a few others that I watch. I've mentioned Austin at Monster Blood, who's great. Justin from This Just In is a great guy. Really intelligent, very pleasing speaking voice, very soft-spoken. I like him a lot. Dave at Book Blather is amazing. He's always been very supportive, always left really nice comments on my videos, and he's just a bundle of joy. I love watching his videos. I love his energy. There's lots of bookish content creators out there that I could talk about, but those are just the ones that immediately spring to mind. And so yeah, I hope you guys check them out. We're into 2022 now, so here's to a great 2022. We'll see what it has to bring. So, all right, that's it then. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. What was your reading year like? Did you enjoy what would your answers be to some of these questions? If you want to do this tag video, do it and let me know about it. Link it to me. I'll gladly watch it. Talk to me. I love books. We all love books. That's why we're here, right? All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.